The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, which is another book in which I don't believe music is ever mentioned, and yet the implications of the tipping point for musicians is huge. The gist of the book is that he tries to explain why certain products or services go from being marginal products, niche products, into the mainstream. What's the process that allows that to happen? And in one of the most effective chapters, he talks about there being 3 key personalities for any type of product or service to tip over into the mainstream. And he identifies these three personality types as mavens, connectors, and salesmen. And when you start thinking about this in terms of music, it just opens up very quickly. A maven, as he defines it, I believe it's a Yiddish word, but it's an information specialist, somebody that is passionate about some subject or some topic for no other reason than they get great joy out of it, right? They're not trying to make money out of it. They're not trying to do anything other than, and I think of myself with music, I love music. I love discovering new music. I love the whole act of discovery, gathering this stuff, and that's what a maven does. So again, if you're a band, if you're a musician, you probably have some maven type tendencies. If you want to work at a label, A&R people better be mavens, right? Marketing people better have a little bit of maven quality. Being a maven alone isn't enough. Being a band with great songs, having been passionate about your music isn't enough. You need these other elements. The second one he identifies is the connector. And he talks about how, and if you think about this, I think everybody knows someone like this, someone that if you mention an idea or something that you're doing, this person will say, you know what, you should talk to my friend so-and-so, right? These people connect relationships in the same way that mavens kind of collect information. So you need this person to take you from one kind of closed circle to another open circle, one that you don't have access to, and these connectors sit in between them. And he calls this phenomenon the power of loose ties, where, and I think bands really need to think about this, and labels too. If you're marketing to the converted, preaching to the choir, it becomes a closed circle. So you go down to a club and you play for your same friends over and over again, and it's diminishing returns. Eventually your friends just go, I can't keep coming out. So you have to find some connector, right, who can then say, well, I can expose you to this whole other world. It's the same thing when you're looking for a job. If your friends are sitting around, you just graduated from college, and you think about where you're going to get a job, well, all your friends know the same people. They're not going to help you with anything. But then you'll be on a bus or a plane or something, you'll be talking, and he's like, well, I want to get into psychology. And you've just met this person 10 minutes ago, and he says, well, you know what, I actually know someone in this town you should talk to. And that loose tie opens you up to a whole other world. Gladwell has a theory, and I think it's right, that these connections tend to take place after you reach, for social products, after you reach a kind of critical mass of 150 people. He calls it the rule of 150. And so the way this applies to bands, I think, is eminently kind of applicable. If you're a band and you're playing in front of 150 people, you've done something. You've reached some kind of critical mass. If you think about clubs, 150 at a small size club, that's pretty good. At that point, it's not just your friends. And at that point, what can happen is you start connecting to other groups. There's a band in Boston that I use as an example a lot that did this prior to Gladwell's book coming out, a band called Guster. And what they would do is, they were at Tufts University up just outside of Boston, and at the end of each school year, they would send their little group of friends, 30 or whatever friends, home and most people at Tufts weren't from Boston, they'd go to California or wherever, but they'd send them home with CDs from Guster with the action of give these to your friends at other colleges. Then these kids would get the CDs, they'd go to another college, and it would spread that way. It was loose ties connecting. And if you're at a club and you got 150 people there, chances are they're going to connect you to someone else. And basically this all adds up to word of mouth, right? I mean, that's kind of what he's getting at. His third character in this kind of law of the few is the name of the title, are the salesmen, people that can close the deal. And, bands, record labels, you can be a maven, come up with a great idea, come up with great songs, sign a band that you love, begin connecting it, begin getting people interested in it, but someone's got to close the deal. And he spends a lot of time talking about how these salespeople are able to kind of bring you into their world and make you feel like you're not being sold to, right? And the implication for bands is you kind of have to be all three of these things. You have to be this information specialist, a maven. Then you got to be a marketer, getting this out there. But whether you're on stage or with the records that you make or the packaging or whatever, you got to be a salesman too. You got to bring people into your world. I always use the phrase emotional connection, and a good salesman will make that emotional connection. So that's one chapter in a book of several other chapters that non-musical but very related, I think, to the music industry.